Today, I'm here with Zack Brittain from Phipps Brittain Real Estate. We're going to be talking about the Waterloo market update.
Today, we're going to go over quick data for January. We're at the end of February. I'll kind of give my sprinkle on what we're seeing for February and March. Market's been changing a lot compared to last year and even in December. How to sell this spring, because this spring's going to be different than last year. And then some bigger deals. Some bigger deals, baby. For this one, though, we're just going to go quick high level. We have way more volume of listings and way more volume of business overall this year compared to last year.
This market looks really healthy right now, right? The spicy ratio is right in line with where it should be. Days
Yeah.
on market's actually fairly low, I would say, or like at least at a very healthy spot.
This is really what I wanted people to take out of this video. This is the, hey, here's what the heck is going on, broad strokes here in Waterloo Region. First off,
Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm your host, Adam J.D. Martin, and today I'm here with Zack Brittain from Phipps Brittain Real Estate. We're going to be talking about the Waterloo market update.
what's going on, Adam? Good to see you, brother. Battling through today. You love to see it. Today, we're going to go over quick data for January. We're at the end of February. I'll kind of give my sprinkle on what we're seeing for February and March. But the big things I wanted to cover today were some trends we're noticing. Market's been changing a lot compared to last year and even in December, as well as where we see value, how to sell this spring, because this spring's going to be different than last year, and then some bigger deals. Some bigger deals, baby. So some of the bigger deals that we're looking at that we're seeing value in, that's a big part of our personal portfolio. A lot of our partners and clients are jumping on the train of larger multi-unit properties. So we'll go over, what we're seeing in terms of value for those and some of the things that we look at for good deals there. So before we kind of get into the market trends, Adam, if you guys haven't looked at it, we do a kind of a big Ontario market-wide update on the YouTube channel here, where you guys can see everybody's different market stats and all the different markets that we cover. So if you guys want context on the different markets, or you want a bigger, quick deep dive on the market stats for Waterloo, you guys can go check out that video now. For this one, though, we're just going to go quick high level because we didn't get the official release data for February yet. We just could not in time for the recording of this video. Long story short, Adam, though, we have way more volume of listings and way more volume of business overall this year compared to last year.
Yeah,
Makes sense, though. Market was just not as attractive last year. Prices were on their way down. Interest rates hadn't really settled. They didn't know where that was going. A lot more uncertainty. And we just had a lot of people sitting on the sidelines or not getting the price points they wanted. So a lot of those people just weren't playing in the market. This year, sentiment's a little bit different.
yeah, and like if you guys haven't watched the actual update video just covering the numbers, like this market looks really healthy right now, right? The spicy ratio is right in line with where it should be. Days on
Yeah.
market's actually fairly low, I would say, or like at least at a very healthy spot. Median
Yeah.
sales price was up across the board. Like everything looks really good. So I'm
Yeah.
excited actually for what we're coming into spring for.
Well, last couple of videos we talked about a balanced market just being a lot healthier for everybody, not just your buyers and your investors that are looking to pick up deals, but your sellers. A little bit more predictable, a little bit more logic in a balanced market, which is something that Southern Ontario hasn't seen a ton of over the last 10 years, for crying out loud. But for us here in Waterloo Region, we did see a bump in median sale price in pretty much every market segment except for condos. If you notice here, the semi-detached, that came down 4,200 and change. I just really caution people when you're looking at medians and averages, understand that is your baseline. That is your starting point. For semi-detached and townhouses, every couple months in the winter, there's so few of those properties that actually transact and sell every month that you could have a month where you have single-digit sales like we did in January, where, of those 10 or 11, 9 properties that sold, 7 of them were smaller, older, or in worse condition. So they sold at a lower price, and that skews the data. So overall, we see the biggest market segment change in that single family space and in the condo space. Condo market's a little bit more saturated than it has been. It is the only market segment that has over 2.5 months of inventory. Single family, semi-detached, townhouse, and our market overall, if you take up every listing, we have less than 2 months of inventory across the board, which is still considered a strong seller's market statistically. And we're going to get into the trends for that right now. This is really what I wanted people to take out of this video. Look, if you want the stuff on the bigger deals, if you want selling strategies, if you want where we see value for different types of deals in Waterloo Region, closer to the end of the video, guys, go to that. But for this is the, hey, here's what the heck is going on, broad strokes here in Waterloo Region. First off, freehold specifically under $1 million, very, very competitive. Listings around $1 million and up, especially kind of that 1 million to 1.3, 1.4, lots of inventory, lots of listings sitting, lots of people not adjusting their prices to reality. And it makes sense that that price point is going to see the biggest hit. There's different lending regulations over $1 million, and that's typically where things will start to get unaffordable, or people will stretch a little bit more financially to make those deals happen. You know, people that can go and afford a $2, $3, $4 million property, they likely have a lot more flexibility financially and a lot more options on the table for them in terms of how to put a deal together, why they're moving and when, as opposed to those single family homes that are in that low million price range. And we're seeing a lot of the properties that were bought, newer detached homes, that maybe they couldn't close on, or they're closing on with B lending or private lending, or they overextended themselves and interest rate changes is really, taking a bite in the ass. So we're seeing a lot of those properties either sit or start to reduce prices. But Adam, under $1 million, freehold, anything in Waterloo Region, it's getting attention. It's getting attention. We're seeing multiples come back a lot. We're starting to see a lot of sellers adopt the list it low and let it go strategy. So buyers, if you're in this, be ready. That trend is expected to continue February and into March here. Okay. Next up, condos and new builds. So condo market specifically, there are way more options available than there have been in the past, and they're staying available longer. That's primarily why we're seeing a lot more inventory there. Um, Investors' appetite for condos in Waterloo Region and pretty much anywhere else in Southern Ontario has cooled dramatically. I'm not a condo investor personally, Adam. Your experience, you're typically not into condo investing either. That's not necessarily, the product that fits your thesis and what you want in your investments, from my understanding.
Well,
And
I think like the one of the issues, right, for anybody trying to invest in a condo is like the uncertainty of where the fees are heading, the uncertainty about like what you can and cannot do with the property, and just like sort of the restrictions around that. And then there's just obviously like a ceiling on potential revenue, right? Like it's not like you can't go into a condo and just add a unit, or like even necessarily add a bedroom easily, or like do these like high value add strategies that you can with even a single family right now. And
yeah,
like with where the market's heading and where the province is heading, like I see more density coming into like private lots, right? So like people want to have additional dwelling units or add units into basements or whatever, and like it's just really hard to add that type of value into a condo unit. So I think like for that reason, I've always been a little bit hesitant to go down that path compared to, just investing simply in a single family. There's just so many more options.
and that's the thing. As investors, the options are huge. I think condos serve and fit a specific segment of the market for
Yep.
owner occupiers and for investors. Investors that want something turnkey in an A location, that are willing to relinquish control, willing to limit their upside, and willing to, fit to a specific tenant or a specific buyer, then condos are great options, right? They're hands off, but it's a different type of investment than what myself and a lot of our partners and a lot of our clients look for. And in Waterloo Region 20 years ago, 10 years ago, condos weren't like a thing. Like this
Yep.
was still very much a suburb, every single family detached, maybe some towns, maybe some semis. There was probably less than 2 dozen condo buildings in all of Waterloo Region. And now, we were at an event about a month back, and developers were saying that they're spending almost 20 million an acre to develop condos in Waterloo Region now. So it's like, it's just really exploded. I can look out my window here down into downtown Kitchener, and any empty lot, any garage, any dry or any parking lot, even 5 houses down the way, they're knocking down 2 detached homes and they're building 28 units right there. So
Yep.
that stuff is going to continue, and the condo market is going to continue to come up because the purchase price is affordable. The cost per square foot is expensive, but the ticket price is more affordable than an 830 square or 830,000 detached house.
Yeah,
So
the actual entry barrier, right, is lower. So I think that will always be a factor in this
yes,
market, right? Especially as you start to push, as you were saying, those single families over $1 million, like that starts to really look attractive then as an option for your consumers. So like
absolutely.
it's very possible to flip these types of products if you can keep it under that like sort of barrier to entry price.
Yep. And
Um,
look, you can get an incredible condo for under 500 grand.
yeah,
So
which is like
there,
kind of amazing compared to $1 million for a house, right? Like double the cost.
yeah, you can get a detached house around 500 grand, but it's gonna be a junker, or it's gonna be in a tough spot, or it's gonna be on a busy street, or it's gonna be super
Yeah.
small. Like, so it definitely serves a market segment. One thing I wanted to highlight in that section though too was new starts. If you guys are waiting for more new builds, if you're waiting for more new inventory to come to our market, sorry, it's not going to be enough, and it's going to be late, and it's going to be expensive. And what I mean by that is we don't have enough new housing starts to meet with the demand in our market, period. Whether it's condos, townhouses, semi-detached, detached homes, doesn't matter what type of property, they're not building enough of it. We've said that before. That trend is going to continue. That will likely mean that as the spring market and the 2024 market finds its feet, the condo inventory may start getting swallowed up as people get priced out of freehold properties. Or if the investor sentiment and appetite returns to the condo market because more people are building and developing condos and demand for them picks up, some investors may pile back in and scoop up that inventory as well. But if you're shopping for condos, you have the luxury of probably not competing with 5 to 10 other buyers on offer day, and you may actually be able to negotiate a little bit. Whereas in the freehold market, it's getting close to being crazy again. So last but not least, multi-units, multi-units. There's kind of a few different schools in the multi-unit space. First off, no inventory, Adam. On market, there is very little inventory, and most of the inventory on market is overpriced. Um, and I can say that honestly because I've been through or run numbers on probably every on-market multi-unit in our market right now. And by overpriced, I mean the unwillingness to negotiate from asking price to a reasonably acceptable price based on the current lending opportunities and the income for that property. So what we're noticing is a large majority of these deals in the multi-unit space are staying off the market, or they're being sold and bought off market. What I mean by that is a lot of sellers in that space are understanding that the interest rate environment is likely going to change in the short term. What I mean by that is in 2-3 years or less, which will make it a more attractive environment for buyers to purchase their property and likely raise the value of their property. So their investors are saying, you know what, if I don't have to sell right now, why would I? I'm just going to wait until the environment and prices are better suited for what I want for this investment. Or they don't want to screw around with the operation of their building to list it on market, show it to a bunch of strangers. Like, it is, you want to keep that building running. You want to keep that business running as smoothly as possible as you're transitioning from owning it to selling it to a new individual. So a lot of these transactions are done off market for that reason. A lot of sellers don't want to spook their tenants. They don't want to have strangers walk in the property. They don't want to have their listing agent or the buyer's agent to go through, start asking questions, right? It is a lot of work, and there could raise some concerns. So we're seeing a lot of the deals that are actually happening off market in the larger multi-unit space, especially because the on-market listings are sitting, and the environment to sell those on market hasn't been as attractive as it was, say, 2 or 3 years ago. So for people looking at the larger multis, or people that are looking at really any type of deal here in Waterloo Region, we do our investor hot list every single week. I think last week or the week before, I straight up just said, like, guys, there's not that many deals on our market. Like, I'm sorry, I just got to tell it like it is. On market and off market opportunities are far and few in between. Finding good value is tricky. And I think that's really clear in a market that isn't very, let's say, defined, right? Our market's really figuring out what it's doing, last 30 to 60 days. And it makes expectations deviate from what's actually happening in our market. And so buyers, sellers, and investors aren't really all on the same page because the market doesn't have a clear direction yet. And so we share a lot of our, insight. We share exclusive listings. We share data and tools that we found that we use as investors, as well as deals on market and off market on the investor hot list. So phippsbrittainrealestate.com, or you can email me, Zack@phippsbrittain.com directly. If you go to our website, just select the investor tab so I can email you back directly and clarify the types of deals that make sense for you. And if you have specific questions, or you need specific contacts and resources here locally, happy to share our people, right? We have a great team of people that can, from construction, property management, legal, accounting, our team is yours. If you guys want to jump on the investor hot list, it's all there for you. So before we kind of get into some selling strategies, we've had some unbelievable comments and interaction from people on the channel for past videos. I wish I had enough time to go through a couple on some older videos, but like these were on the last months. I love the first one here. House hacks and duplex conversions for sale all over KW. So I had to fact check this. There is 57 duplexes currently on the market. 17 of them sold firm in the last 30 days or less. So that's about 30%. All vacant and losing money investors from 2023, 22 to 23. Now, yeah, I think a lot of people, made some mistakes in those years, paying too much money, overestimating price appreciation, rental income appreciation. Some investors did have to dump losers. Not all investors make money. I think that's very true. I do think though that there are a lot of different sellers right now that are, doing similar things that even what I'm doing. I have smaller properties that I'm offloading last year, this year, and probably next year because my return on my equity and my ability to grow my wealth in another asset is going to be greater than if I just keep it in a duplex or a triplex. So I think there's a lot of components to that one, but Ridley's, he's actually made some comments on some other videos, or they made some comments on some other videos. This comment was relating to basement ceiling heights. So Adam, when you're converting a single family home into a 2 or 3 unit property, most commonly people will focus on the basement. And that's because the basement's probably the most underutilized. Like
Yeah.
even if you got a family of 2 kids and you have 2 adults, the basement is the laundry room, the junk room, the mechanical room, and then the kids' destruction room. At least that's what
Yeah.
mine's gonna be. And so for those people that don't need the space or want to generate additional income or want to increase the value of the home, they'll convert that into a second legal unit. Well, in Waterloo Region, and that gentleman or that individual said they had one in Niagara Falls, is you need minimum ceiling height requirements. You can't be building dungeons, right? So, well, you can, it's just illegal. So if you want to get it permitted, which we recommend, is you want to make sure that the properties you're purchasing, if your ideal strategy is to convert a legal 2 unit in the basement, you need minimum ceiling height. In Waterloo Region, it's 6'5". You need 6'5" throughout. There are some exceptions and there are some ways to work around that, but typically, we could pull up a property on the MLS in Waterloo Region right now, and with, I would say, 90% accuracy, I could probably tell you if the ceiling height in that neighborhood is going to be good or not. We've been in a lot of properties. And so understanding that that is not something you want to change because it is too expensive.
Yeah.
Cutting off the ceiling or digging out the basement concrete and chipping it up is very expensive. So some of the comments they made were great. You want to be spending way less than 200 or 250,000 to convert a second legal unit. If you guys want pricing or you need a local contact, we got guys that'll do it for 200 if you want to pay them that, but they'll do it much cheaper. They'll do it much cheaper. And last but not least here, our guy Brandon, a great comment. Hey, Zach, all the advice you give is great. Thank you. You're welcome. What about the tenants who stop paying rent and refuse to move out? How are you guys dealing with that? Any advice? Okay, Adam. We could do a whole video on this, but I'm going to
Mhm.
summarize it real quick because we just can't. We just can't. This is a part of the job. You are going to have tenants that can't pay, won't pay, want to be difficult, need to be difficult, or their situation just changes. They've messed up and they just can't do it. Now, that's part of the job. That's going to continue to happen. First, though, screen your tenants. Screen your tenants and communicate very clearly with them. If things go south, they need to know that you're somebody that they can communicate with, that is going to work with them to find a solution, right? You want to be approachable. You want to be friendly. You don't want to be their friend necessarily, but you want to be friendly. Hey, I'm somebody that you can at least talk to. Now, if things start to go south, typically that means communication's broken down, something's changed on their situation. They can't properly communicate that to you and get ahead of it. Happens all the time. Do everything by the book. I don't care if you're my best tenant, my worst tenant. If you miss a payment or you're late, regardless of whether I know you're going to pay me or not, serving notice, I'm filing with the board. You need to get ahead of it because what happens if you don't is you get so far behind, your only option is to kick them out or get eviction or do cash for keys because it's become such a big problem. You need a solution now. Get ahead of it. If you need a paralegal because you don't have any experience with the landlord and tenant board, hire one. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but if you're going to be a landlord, you're going to be a real estate investor, you need to learn these things. It's going to be more expensive to not know those things than it is to go through the process. So we've dealt with that before, but I remember hearing a stat and I checked it. I believe that 95%, 90 to 95% of tenants in Ontario pay in full on time. I think there's only 30,000 applications for evictions at the landlord and tenant board right now for later non-payment, but there's over 600,000 rental units in Ontario. So I was like, squeaky wheel gets the oil. You hear about all the horror stories. 99% of the time, tenants just want to pay and stay there and don't want to be bothered, right?
Yeah.
So we could go deeper on this. I know we could, but if you don't have experience, hire a paralegal. It's going to cost you money, but it's worth it. Because if you mess up with the landlord tenant board, it's going to take you longer to actually either get payment from them or have them removed. So I highly recommend you guys just do everything by the book, learn the landlord and tenant board process, or hire a paralegal to walk you through it for the first time. That's
Yeah,
what I do.
those forms, you cannot play around on those forms. They got to be done properly. They got to be done on time, by the letter. And then the other thing you mentioned there is literally what I would say is the biggest problem in the landlord tenant and investor sort of relationship is just communication. Like so many investors, I see the bad investors, like when a problem comes up, they like kick the can, and it just like develops into this like massive problem that leads your tenants to be unhappy with you, and then they cause other problems. And it's just this whole thing where like if you can just solve the problem as soon as it comes up, like they almost never don't want to pay you, right? Like my tenants all pay me like a week or two early. Like it's really crazy. Like they all just on their own accord pay me really early because like I just fix their problems as soon as they come up. Like
And,
I
and
was
and
just
how many
traveling
times do you work
recently
with a
too.
tenant that has a bad experience and they're like, "Oh my God, you're a normal person.
Yeah.
Please don't kick me out. I just want to make sure my
Yeah.
landlord's not going to screw with me."
Absolutely. I hear that all the time and it's really too bad. I have a great tenant here who, gave me a text and was like, "Hey, I haven't had hot water for like 3 days." I'm like, "Oh shit. Like this, your text is 3 days late then."
Yeah.
But I was traveling and I got it dealt with right away. I was like, "Okay, well, like someone will be there in the morning to like fix that." And it ended up, I actually needed to replace the whole hot water tank and just made like a bunch of calls, got it done same day. And she's like, "I literally cannot believe you just did all that work like while you're traveling." I'm like, "Man, like you need hot water and like this is like your place that you live." Like I think it's very important for us to remember that like this is not just like any other business, right? This is actually somebody's home. Like this is where they live. Their kids live
Personal.
there, right? Like so I think just having a really high duty of care and communicating like that, as well as following those forms by the letter, is super important. You nailed it
And
there.
and the reality is, Adam, you could do everything right. You could
Yeah.
do everything right 1,000 times and
Yeah.
still end up with a bad apple, still make a mistake, or still have a bad tenant, or still have a situation change and they're not willing to work with you. So just
Yeah.
like acknowledge that. If you want to be a real estate investor, just acknowledge that that can happen, but also acknowledge that you're using this as a vehicle to get whatever it is you want, whether it's wealth, freedom, time, power. I don't know, but just understand that that is going to be part of the deal. So, I mean, we have a great paralegal that we can refer. They were fantastic for us and any other contacts, as well as just share a personal experience. A lot of our clients, a lot of our partners work with us because we're investors as well. We've seen, I'd like to say everything, but not even close. But we've seen so much in real estate investing, dealing with tenants, with property, with construction, whatever it might be. So a big reason why people come and work with us and partner with us is because we have that firsthand experience. How to approach those conversations, how to have them, why it makes sense, what your actual options are, how to present them. These are just people, it's their home. You got to respect that. So I did want to go through those. There was a couple more, but just like we couldn't go through them all. I do appreciate the comments. I do see them. So thank you guys for reaching out, and mostly positive. Some funny ones that I don't care if people have opposing views as to what's happening. Everybody's
Mhm.
entitled to their opinion, but we like having fun with it. So I appreciate you guys chiming in on the comment section. Thank you for that. Now, we did this clip last time, Adam. Deals that we see value in. I'm going to go over a couple real quick, and then I think we're going to end up with the spring market and big deals. Okay. So deals that we see value in. Premium locations. I know, Zach, but what are the good premium locations? Shut up and listen. Okay. Anything within 1,000-meter radius of the LRT station. I've said this for 2 or 3 years. People smarter than me have been saying this for a decade. Guys, if you're with it, it's with the way the crow flies. It's not like Google Maps walking distance. 1,000-kilometer radius, even better 800 or 1,000-meter radius, 800-meter radius within an LRT stop. The LRT is completed in Kitchener and Waterloo. They're connecting it out to Cambridge. They've already released the map and where the stops are going to be. You can start out in Cambridge now too. Those are considered premium locations from an investment perspective because you are going to see more redevelopment, higher appreciation, higher rental appreciation, and higher traffic there. Done. Next, multi-units with land. Specifically to Kitchener. Kitchener has a lot of purpose-built 3, 4, 5, and 6-unit multis on residentially zoned lots with big lots in A-plus locations, in midtown locations that are walking distance to shit or close enough to transit that they can take transit anywhere. The reason why we want those with land, Adam, is the big problem with these smaller multi-units is they have underperforming market rents. Tenants that have been there for 3, 4, 5, 10 plus years, they're paying rents that are well below market value, which means your financing to acquire them is gonna be shittier. Or you got to come up with more cash. So how do you make up for that? You build an additional 3, 4, 5, or 6 units on that existing lot. Then you can refinance into an A product. You can get into CMHC. You can use that opportunity to renovate and update the condition and efficiencies of the existing multi-unit that you purchased so that you can get preferential financing on the exit, and you can have multiple units on that property that are not subject to Ontario rent control laws. This is specific to Waterloo Region because there are a lot of small purpose-built multi-units on nice sized lots that give you enough space to build additional units on. That is the big value for those types of products because it solves the problem of the price that people want today for the rental income that they're currently generating today. So we see huge value in those for small to medium sized investors, especially if you already own existing lots like that or existing properties like that. If you're not paying today's price, the numbers look even sexier for you. So if you have questions on how to do that, how to build, how to develop, how to either get rezoning or how to do minor variances, we have experience with all that. Get in touch. My team, Matt and Kevin, they can take care of all that for you. It's something that we work on for our own deals right now. It's a good step up if you want to start getting into that space and get away from the single family rentals or the duplex, triplex rentals. There's huge value out in there. There's huge demand specifically from the city of Kitchener. Again, they're putting their hands up at them. They're saying, hey guys, we want investors to come here and they want to figure out how do we get more units to make sure that we kind of even try and keep up with the demand for the amount of people that are moving in here. So the last kind of segment we see a lot of value in for deals is the larger multi units. You know, we're talking 10 plus units. Most of those are trading around 200,000 per door unless they're brand new. Typically because the rental income on average is going to be below market rents. And if you can find a 5 cap, great. Most of them are trading closer to a 4 with some sort of opportunity to raise it above a 4 cap in the first year or two. Personally, Adam, you know, for those larger deals, it's very complicated in terms of saying, hey, this is the deal criteria you should be looking at. Every deal's totally different, to be honest. But generally speaking, if you can find anything in the mid 4s that you can easily or straightforward take it into a 6+ cap, those deals are much more interesting. So if you can find anything like that in Waterloo Region, you know, our market is positioned to grow quite aggressively in terms of an appreciation perspective, but most importantly for investors, a rental income perspective. We're still somewhat affordable in terms of rental income, in terms of rent, sorry, but that is going to continue to trend upwards. As less people can afford to purchase, more people are going to stay in the renter pool, which means there's going to be more competition in the renter pool. And if we're not building enough purpose-built rental units and we're not bringing enough new units to market, that means more people renting, competing for less units. Rents are going to go up, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why we're looking towards these larger multi-units. So for people that are looking to make a move this year, so if you're buying, this is great context. But for you sellers out there, I mentioned it at the beginning of the video, but expectations are changing, and expectations and market reality are changing differently. So there's kind of a disconnect amongst a big portion of our market. So I just wanted to remind people that there's typically 3 segments of people that are trying to sell a property. Number 1, people that need to sell. Always going to be a portion of the market, Adam, that needs to sell. Death, divorce, money, work, whatever. Real motivation, something has happened or something is happening that I need to move now. Okay, let's call it 20, maybe 30% of the market. This would include distressed sellers as well. And for those of you that are waiting for a wave of distressed sellers to just flood our market with inventory, there ain't going to be enough of them to make that big of a dent. Not here in Waterloo Region, not this year. I just don't see it. I mean, as a buyer, as an investor, maybe I can get better prices if that happens, but I'm not holding my breath. That is not part of my investing thesis here in Waterloo Region this year. So those that need to sell. Now, those that want to sell, Adam, I even put a little italic, you know, shaded that shades of motivated, right? You know, that's the details here at the Canadian Real Estate Channel, Adam. Okay. People that have their property in the market, they're like, Zach, I'm selling. I want to sell it. But maybe their price expectations are too high. Or maybe their listing strategy sucks. Or maybe they haven't invested and prepared their property well enough to match with their selling expectations. Or maybe they have a product that's just really unique and going to be difficult to sell. So just realize that there could be people that have all of the right expectations, but their strategy and their product doesn't match, or vice versa. So that would probably be the bulk of the market. Is, let's say, another 30% of them is probably going to fall within that category of shades of motivated, prepared, and educated, right? So you're going to see some wonky stuff, right? You're going to see people using weird strategies, listing high, listing low, holding off offers, not holding off offers, properties that just don't show well, properties in unique locations or unique scenarios. And so you're not, and the reason why this is really important to cover, Adam, is 3 years ago, everybody knows market's going up. It's going up. Every signal, every person in the business, market's going up. Well, there's a little bit more disconnect and a little bit more ideas on the table that have validity now. So there's a little bit more confusion as to what exactly is going on. Now, you guys that are watching, guys and girls that are watching the video, educating yourself, that's great. So understanding that here in Waterloo Region, short term, we have low inventory and demand starting to pick up. So we expect to see more competition for the good shit first. Once all the good shit's gone, competition is going to start trickling down. And then the definition of good shit is going to change. So within the next 3 to 6 months, we expect the market to get a little bit more competitive. And we do expect the market to kind of find its feet for where it's going to be for the next 12 to 24 months.
Love
That
it.
being said, there is a portion of the market that's just never going to sell. Overpriced, unrealistic. Their expectations are higher than Willie Nelson. I put a bunch of different photos up there and trying to figure out which ones would be great. Just look how happy he is. He's just all illuminated in green. This guy's higher than a kite, right? Some of the seller expectations, specifically in the multi-unit and the investor space, are very high because a lot of investors are price motivated. If I get this price, Zach, I'll sell it. Well, your price is 200 grand over what anybody's reasonably willing to pay. It's not going to sell for that. That doesn't mean that investment properties aren't selling. It just means that expectations are different than what's happening in the market, specifically in that segment and in others, right? People want yesterday's price today. Well, today is today. So finally on this bit, Adam, selling a home versus selling an investment property is totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You got to deal with different challenges. You're appealing to different people. How you market it, how you communicate it, how you show it, how you prepare it for market is just different, plain and
Yep.
simple, right? And so if you're selling an investment property this year, or you're selling your home or a primary residence or a single family home this year, there are 3 simple things that you can do to get it ready. Get somebody to look at it that knows how to sell those types of properties. Get them to tell you exactly what they would do to prepare it to sell. I just give my guys a checklist. Here's everything that you can do. Here's the order of importance and what it's going to get in terms of return for time and return for value, right? And then last, execute a strategy. What are other properties like this selling for? How are they selling? How are buyers purchasing that type of property? Okay, we're going to suit that marketing strategy and the selling strategy to that as closely as possible. And so if you guys are planning on selling, go to the investor hot list or get my contact information from the description of the YouTube video. Send me a direct message now. Because what's going to happen? March is going to be nice and spicy. April, you're going to see some nice prices. And if you're not ready to get on the market by the end of March, you might miss the sexy spring boat. I can't tell you how many times I have people talking to me in the spring and they don't end up getting their property in the market till June or July. The market's still okay in June or July, but it's not that sexy spring market. So I'm telling you guys right now, if you're thinking about moving a property, especially if it's tenanted, especially if there's some things you want to do to it, make that call now. Got to
Yep.
do it, or you're going to miss the sexy spring market. It's going to be too late for you. Okay. Now, last, this is what we're gonna bring this one home. This is the fun stuff for me, ladies and gentlemen. Multi-family real estate, bigger deals. So what my team, me and my partners, what we're doing is we're shedding some of the smaller properties we've made some great returns on. We got equity in, they're cash flow heavy. That's great. But in order to generate the returns and build the wealth that we want to build, we cannot scale if we continue to do smaller projects. We just have to do too many of them where it's just not feasible. So we're looking at larger multifamily properties because they provide steady cash flow. The gentleman that said, hey, what do you do if tenants just stop paying and, I got to evict them or whatever? Well, if I have a 2-unit property and one tenant doesn't pay me, 50% of my tenants aren't paying me. That's a big dent. If I have a 30-unit building and one person doesn't pay me, drop in the bucket. I'm still making money every month on that bad boy, right? So I'm reducing my vacancy risk. Next reason why multifamilies make sense. I just put maths here because I made myself laugh as I was typing this out. They're bought and sold based on math. Now, smaller multi-units typically are too, Adam, right? Can I make a little bit of money every month on this duplex or this triplex? Yeah, okay. A couple $100 here or there. For smaller and newer investors that are self-manage their properties and really start to take ownership for their own, investing, they're great. You learn a ton and you can make great money on them. But for people like myself that are full-time investors, and I'm looking for what is the best avenue to increase my wealth and build for my future goals without taking on too much risk, financing you're going to get tripped up on for these smaller deals. Your policy, too many units, your personal, coverage ratios are off. The lender policy changes. With larger multi-units, it is how much money does this property bring in? How many expenses is it? Okay, here's how much you have to bring for a down payment. I do that math. If the math checks out, I buy it. If not, I move on. So, and there's no cap. I can get as many of these bad boys as I want with commercial lending. It doesn't matter my personal situation, doesn't matter how many units I have, doesn't matter if it's corporation or personally owned. There are lenders that can suit your needs, and they will lend based on the math of the building. That is what they focus on. Lenders want to make sure they get their money back and they're going to be paid. So if I'm buying buildings that are likely going to make me money every month, it's going to make them money every month. They're going to give me the money, right?
Yep,
Now,
absolutely. It's so much easier. I can't even stress how much easier it is to get financing on that.
we're going to do a deep dive on bigger multis next video. I got to do it. Like, this is stuff that we've been working on for years now, and we're finally starting to make some moves on these bigger deals. And it's just, there's a lot of benefits. So to finish this one off, long-term economic trends here, your rents and your asset values are going to continue to appreciate. We are slowly coming towards more of a renter economy as Canada matures as a nation and as an economy. Rents and asset values will continue to increase, which should provide returns to myself and my partners. A big part of our kind of value pitch when we're looking for multi-unit properties, we need to go in there and operate them well, and it's managing them well. Straight up, having good communication and managing them well so we continue to collect rents and we continue to increase rents will generate more money for us in our investments. And last but not least, scalability. It's easier for me to go buy 150 unit building than 25 2-unit buildings. That's one place instead of looking at dozens and dozens of properties under one roof as well. Easier for property management, easier for maintenance, easier for construction, easier to get financing, better cash flow, less vacancy risk. Larger multi-units, guys, they are where it's at. I would challenge you, if you're looking at some of the smaller stuff, think a little bit bigger, baby. And Adam, last but not least, look, we're all about the arts here at the Canadian Real Estate Channel. Larger multi-units, they make money. I am an investor to make money. I like money. I want to get paid. I want to make more of it. I love money because it lets me do whatever the hell I want to do when I want to do it. It makes bread. I was thinking of all the awesome words for money, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm putting up some stupid photos because I just want to remember people. You're in these properties to make money. If I'm picking an investment, I want the best possible investment that I can get that gives me what I want out of an investment. Multifamily properties, they make bread, lettuce, green, cheddar, gold, cash, whatever you want to call it. So finish it off here. For the bigger projects, 10 plus is good here in Waterloo Region. You can find some good deals for the 10 plus. 20 plus is where the numbers start looking way sexier. Way sexier. I'll talk about that in the next video. For multi-units, you can get those 3, 4, 5, 6-unit buildings like I talked to, and then build 3 to 6 more units. There's a handful of areas in Waterloo Region that are suitable for that. Those are great options as well. But also, people say, Zach, how do you have millions of dollars to go buy these properties? They're expensive. We're talking 3, 4, 5, 6, $10 million purchases. A lot of people partner on bigger deals. There's a lot of ways to put together these deals. VTBs, JVs, transition financing, lots and lots of options to put these deals together. And there's a lot of people that are looking to get in on these types of deals. Our partners work with us on these deals because they want the returns, but they don't have the time to go find the deal and manage it because it is a huge undertaking to do it well. So they want that real estate exposure, but they don't want, to deal with all the tenant calls and all the problems dealing with the construction company and the property manager. I get it. So a lot of people will partner on these deals to make sure they get access to good assets, and they have different people for different parts of the deal to make it work. That's what a lot of people do. So in the next video, we're going to talk about some analysis, some underwriting. We're going to talk about, the concept versus the reality of raising values of any property, but specifically multi-unit properties. And then we'll have our February and most of our March data in, so I can say, hey guys, we're getting into the spring now. Here's what you got to do to make sure you're winning if you're doing any business, buying or selling in the spring. In the meantime, Adam, I know we've been going here, but if you guys do want more consistent updates, you want access to deals, the investor hot list, or follow me on Instagram. I'm posting a lot more personal stuff, deals we're walking through, how to analyze bigger deals, what to look for when you're walking through investment properties, and where we're finding value here in Waterloo Region. It's a great way to access me on a day-to-day and ask me all your questions about deals you're working on or investments that you're considering. We love connecting with the community. I can't be as active in the comments on YouTube as I can on my Instagram, so you guys can send me a DM direct if you guys want to chat about anything.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you, Zack, again for getting us this Waterloo market update. I really appreciate it. And thank you at home for tuning in. I've got the flu today, so I really do appreciate Zack covering this video for me. Once again, this is real people doing real stuff here. Like, we really want to stress, like, Zack's a full-time investor. We're full-time investors, and like, we show up every day regardless of how we feel or what's going on. So, I really love that you touched on some of the comments that we're getting. Like, what happens when your tenants aren't paying, or what happens when whatever. It's like, we show up. That's what happens. You show up every day, you put in the work, and as long as you can do that consistently, you'll get the results. So
100%.
Thank you for sharing all this information with us, Zack. And of course, go jump on that investor hot list. I think that's fantastic.
Yes,
And
sir.
we'll see you guys back next month.
Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.